7:32 right now, and President Joe Biden spoke to the nation last night in what was his fourth and possibly final address from the Oval Office. In that speech, he made it clear that he stepped out of the presidential race out of a sense of duty for his party and the country.
I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title.
President Biden spoke for about 11 minutes with his family sitting in the room right outside the camera shot. Political history is unfolding really right before our eyes. Joining us this morning to weigh in on it is our political analyst, Tara Dowdell. So good morning, Tara. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, President Biden's speech was very solemn, subdued. What was your impression?
My impression was that it demonstrated who Biden is. He is a good and decent man. And that speech really showed his altruism, his selflessness. He stepped aside, he passed the torch, but he also drew a contrast. He used the opportunity to draw a contrast with Vice President Kamala Harris and what's at stake in this election with her versus Donald Trump.
Yeah, and he came right out, Tara, and said that he believed that the merit of his presidency deserved a second term. Made it very clear that he was doing this out of sacrifice and not about himself. It seemed this speech was more about the history books and his legacy. What did you make of it?
I think that the speech was definitely about him also defending his record, right? Yeah. And he should defend his record. I think what the history books will say about President Biden is that he was or is one of the most consequential presidents of this era, of the modern era. I mean, he has been transformative in terms of big legislation that's going to have a big impact. The problem for people like President Biden is a lot of what he does lays the groundwork for a lot of future benefits for the American people. But I believe those benefits will be felt. And I think it's important for him to remind people of what he accomplished, and I'm glad he did that.
Yeah, and he said that it would be Vice President Kamala Harris that would lead the nation forward. But he also said it was up to the American people as well, didn't he? Let's listen to what he had to say.
America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands.
What did you make of that?
I thought that was really powerful. I thought that was one of the most powerful moments of the speech last night. And again, it goes back to what I talked about earlier, that contrast. I mean, there is a lot at stake in this election. You have former President Donald Trump, who has continued, people said after the shooting he would change and he would be this new man, this humble new man, and we've seen no humility. In fact, he's lobbying attacks. He's at his rallies. He's the same Trump as he's always been. And then you have a message from the Vice President, who's now the nominee or presumptive nominee, and she's talking about bringing people together, and she reflects the diversity of America. She reflects, you know, what America is right now.
You know, I think when you look at the history books too, it's whoever wrote that speech, and I'm sure he had a hand in it. Yeah. Lyndon B. Johnson's speech was played over and over and over again, right? So, and this is going to be one that is played over and over and over again. While that is all going on, you look at it, and there are folks who are saying, you saw right there, was a good man. What do you say to those who are on the flip side saying he stayed in the race too long, right? And that hurt any chance for Kamala Harris, the vice president, or any other person that could have come forward and had a primary along the way?
Well, I will say I was one of the people that did not like the way this was handled with the people who asked President Biden to step aside. I think that should have been done in a less public manner or in a not public manner at all. But I do think that he does deserve a second term. If we're going strictly on policy, which we don't talk enough about policy, bipartisan infrastructure deal, we're talking about prescription drug prices being cut, $35 for insulin for seniors, the Inflation Reduction Act, so much consequential policy that will affect people's lives. To his point, it did warrant a second term. With respect to him waiting to pass the torch, to me, as a former political staffer, campaign staffer, I don't think that the vice president has missed a step, because the campaign was the Biden-Harris campaign. So she has been campaigning, and there is continuity there, and you're seeing it. As I was starting to say, as a former staffer, this rollout has been impeccable. I have not seen a rollout like this. It has been absolutely flawless. And so she has not missed a beat. And so I think for those who are saying he waited too long, I think that that's really not fair. I think that the way he was treated was unfair, and that criticism of him is unfair as well. Well,
you say Vice President Kamala Harris has not missed a beat, but Donald Trump and his campaign, they were not planning for this. How much do they have to pivot now?
They have to, they're struggling right now because they have to make a big pivot because they had set their whole campaign up around attacking Joe Biden. And my guess is someone who's worked on a number of campaigns and consulted on a number of campaigns, they probably already cut ads that they now have to pull back. They've written talking points. They have whole plans built around him that all have to be reversed. And you're seeing them struggle. They're trying to. There was an edict, which is really an indictment on their campaign, an edict that went out from the Republican Party saying, "Don't be racist and misogynist against her. Roll back those attacks." Yes, that was something that was actually told to Republicans by Republicans. The fact that they have to say that is telling. But to your question, I think that they're trying to get their footing. They're trying to figure out how to attack her in a way that doesn't look bad on them. Right. And Donald Trump is struggling with that.
All right, Tara, we're going to leave it there. It's going to be an interesting next 6 months. The final final 6 months for Joe Biden, and then, of course, the election. Great to have you here, Tara, as always.
Thank you.